We've been hunting for a glider that's fun to fly, easy to operate, and genuinely competitive. But with only an entry-level budget, finding one has not been easy. After years of searching, we've finally found it.
And here it is, the brand new LS7. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you why it was so cheap. To be fair to say, there's a fair few bits wrong with it that we need to sort out. And I've decided that I'm going to fly the UK Club Class Nationals in 6 weeks' time. So yeah, I've got a long to-do list which I need to get through to make sure it's competition ready.
Developed in the late 1980s as the successor to the hugely successful LS4, the LS7 was designed to push the boundaries of glider performance. Its advanced aerodynamic design featured a laminar flow aerofoil and a high aspect ratio wing. Cutting-edge materials including carbon fibre and aramid composites kept the aircraft exceptionally light without compromising strength. Combined with its auto-connect controls, the LS7 is not only a high-performance sailplane, but also a pleasure to rig and fly.
I test flew it the other day, and the first thing I noticed was that the rudder pedals were really narrow. And on a lot of these modern LSs, 6s, 7s and 8s, you can get rudder pedal spacers, which space the pedals apart and hold them in that wider position, which is really nice, especially if you are a shorter pilot. As long as the rudder pedals are close to you, you can space them apart. Unfortunately, if you're a taller pilot, you're a bit limited on how much you can space them apart to allow for the rudder pedal clearance on the fuselage wall. We've also got no roger hook on the canopy, so I'd like to try and get that in before the comp, ideally. That would just aid canopy jettison if I did have to get out in emergency. It pins the back of the canopy and makes sure that the front lifts away nicely. Avionics wise, there's quite a few avionic upgrades that I'd like to do. It's got a classic fly arm in at the moment, and I'd like to upgrade that and put a power fly arm in there. It came with pretty good instruments. We've got a Winter ASI, Winter mechanical vario, and an 833 trig radio. But the electronic vario was an LXNav S7. We've already put an SX Hawk in there, which is really nice. And I'm flying with a Navita UDN as my moving map, so that's giving me task nav and airspace. I'd like to also put a canopy flasher in there. I think that's particularly important when you're flying competitions. But even if you're not, even if you're just flying at weekends, I'd like to get the flasher in. We'll get that connected to the flarm as well, so that will just flash. That will flash all the time as soon as I'm flying, and if I have a flarm warning, it'll flash more frequently and hopefully get the other pilot's attention, which would be cool. You can see I've already put a Confor safety cushion in here, which I always think is really important for any gliding whatsoever. For me, I found that the straps were too long, the lap straps, so we're going to adjust those and make sure I can get those tight enough. The other really important thing for competitions is having redundancy with your power supply. So this does actually have the option to put a fin battery in, but that's a bit of a pain to charge at competitions. So we're going to put a second avionics battery on the shelf here, which means we need to run some more battery lines. So we're going to have the seat pan out, we're going to run the new battery lines, wire that into the instrument panel. We're not going to go too far on the avionics work here, so you'll have seen on many of our other panels or our panel video, we like to have a master switch and then have everything individually switched. We're not going to have time to do that before the comp this year, so we're just going to run the battery lines and just give it a second source of power, just in case that first battery was to fail or to run out during the flight. We're also going to replace the yaw string, because I find that a little bit distracting and messy. It's also not quite in the middle, which is driving me mad when I flew it the other day. Other than that, the fuselage is in pretty good condition. It's been refinished not that long ago. I think we're going to have to do something about that competition number. It's a bit of a mouthful to read out on the radio. And then the only other thing is it's got a tail skid rather than a tail wheel. That was the original spec when these were brand new back in the late 80s and early 90s. At some point, we'll try and make some time to upgrade it to a tail wheel, because it's so much easier pushing it around on the grid and off the airfield. Right, let's go take a look at the wings. This is where it all starts to go wrong, and this is why this glider was so cheap. So if you look closely at the surface of the wing, you can see these fine lines, these fine cracks, and this is what's called crazing. And this is typical of this type of gel coat. This is called Vorgelat gel coat. With age, with UV degradation, with the moisture that we have in the UK, this just degrades over time, and these cracks get worse and worse, and eventually these cracks can propagate into the structure itself. So if you leave it too long, you're going to end up with some potentially some outer skin damage in the structure. This is getting to the point where it's going to need sorting quite soon. You can see some of the chips and the worst bits that are all flaking off down here. We're going to have to refinish this, but this is something that we can do here, and no doubt we'll make a video on showing the transformation as we start to work on it this winter. One of the other issues with this was the control seals. They were starting to get quite old, the Mylar seals, and particularly on the bottom side, the Teflon seal that bridged the gap, that was starting to shrink, which was reducing the aileron control freedom. You could actually feel it restricting the controls. So we've already replaced that, fixed that, and the controls feel really nice. But the wings are actually in really good, they've got a really good shape to them. The profile is really good. It looks like from the history of the glider, there's been very little evidence of it being damaged or pranged, which is really rare for a glider of this type. Can't really see any repairs on the wing, no changes in gel coat, and the shape's really, really nice, which is a really important thing. It means it's been really well looked after by its previous owners. Looking at the tailplane, fortunately not a lot to show you here. The tailplane's been refinished, the elevator top side's been refinished, so at some point we need to do the bottom side, but it's all in reasonable order, a little bit of crazing on the elevator. You can see no Mylar seals on the bottom side, so we're going to sort that out before it goes to the competition. Just want all those performance gains that we can get. And then on the top side, you can see here the Mylar is just lifting away when the elevator deflects down. So we'll replace the top side Mylar as well, that's starting to perish. But yeah, pretty good. Let's go have a look at the trailer. Not much to say. It's the Cobra, which is a good start. I absolutely love Cobra trailers. This particular one has got the aluminium double sandwich floor, so there's not much to worry about in terms of corrosion. The wheels are getting a bit tired. The tyres are going to need replacing, so we're going to get 3 new wheels for it. Other than that, it just needs a good clean, outside and inside. We'll probably replace a lot of the felt fittings on all the bits that touch the glider, but that's about it. It doesn't really need much else. The glider also came with a full set of turret gear, which is always really important when you're buying a glider, making sure you've got some way of getting it to the launch point. And it came with a full set of vertigo covers, which is really nice. We're going to get them cleaned up, and then they'll be ready for use in competitions as well. Anyway, I haven't got much time, so we're going to start by upgrading the flam to a power flam.